So I wrote a book called 3 Cups of Tea. Any of you heard about 3 cups of tea? All right, so 3 cups of tea means the first cup you're a stranger, second cup a friend, and the third cup your family. Well, the more I do this, I'm totally convinced, as probably a lot of you are, education has to be our top national and international priority, and especially including education for girls. You know, we can drop bombs, we can surge troops, we can put in electricity, we can put in computers, we can build roads, but if girls are not educated, a society will never change. So why is educating girls so important? Now, of course, we have to educate the guys, but I see girls' education as the impact goes over generational. Number one, it reduces infant mortality. Number two, it reduces the population explosion. Number three, it improves the quality of health and life itself. Girls who learn how to read and write tend to teach their mother how to read and write. So education like wildfire. Boys don't do that as much. Also related to violence and militancy and terrorism. Women who are educated are much less likely to encourage their son to get into violence or into terrorism. I've seen that happen. The Taliban, one of their primary recruiting grounds are from illiterate, impoverished society because women who are educated, even at threat of their life, they often refuse to allow their son to become a terrorist or a militant. So now I've got some really bad news and some good news. So do you want to hear the bad news first or the good news? Bad news. So in the last 3.5 years, the militant groups have bombed, burned, or destroyed over 2,400 schools. Actually, the number's much higher than that, but this is the official number from UNICEF. And what's interesting, though, is about 2/3 to 3/4 of the schools that destroyed, they are girls' schools, and they're not boys' schools. So why do a group of big bad men, armed with weapons and Kalashnikovs, why are they so terrified of a little girl going to school? I mean, what's the big deal? Why do you taunt her? Why do you force her to work? Why do you poison her? Why do you throw battery acid at her? Why do you do all these things to her and deny her her right to go to school? Because I think their greatest fear, it's not a bullet, but it's a pen. And what they fear the most, if that girl gets an education, grows up, becomes a mother, the valve of education will go on in their community. And now here's the good news, which you saw earlier. And there's different numbers, but basically 11 years ago in Afghanistan, there were about 800,000 kids going to school, mostly boys, and today there's about 8 million children going to school, including 2.8 million females. And Pakistan has actually had some similar numbers in the recent years. This is the greatest increase in school enrollment in any country in modern history. Sometimes I hear Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu leaders say something like, God is on our side. We've all heard it one way or another. But you know what? If God is on anybody's side, God is on the side of the widows, the orphans, the refugees, the 78,000 veterans who've been wounded or maimed and traumatized in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and those 120 million children who are not in school. And until the day comes that there is no widow in distress, until there's no orphan who has love and shelter, until every single one of those 78,000 veterans who've been wounded or psychologically traumatized in Afghanistan and Iraq, and until every single child on this planet can go to school, I don't think that any of us here has the right to say, God is on our side. And there's still a lot of work that still needs to be done.